In this video, I'm going to talk about what I call the tipping point. This can apply to immigration. It can apply to getting a second citizenship as an insurance policy to make sure you're always protected. It can really apply to almost anything we talk about here at Nomad Capitalist. And the tipping point that I'm referring to is the principle that at a certain point, things become so well known, so highly regarded, and so often pursued that people begin to pursue them just because. I was talking to a gentleman about a month ago who's from Turkey. We were doing an interview, and he said, people here in Turkey who leave the country, they like to move to Germany. I said, well, that's interesting. I have a summer home in Montenegro, and we always hear about people from Turkey who are coming and moving to Montenegro. He said, yeah, maybe a couple, but really, almost everyone wants to move to Germany. I said, well, why do you think that is? Why not other countries in Europe? And he said, well, it's just been a thing for so long that that's where they go. Some time ago, a guy from Turkey moved to Germany, and then he perhaps brought his family, and then he brought his friends, and then the word started to get out and get out and get out, and they built this Turkish community. What's interesting to me is I spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe in places like Turkey. And when you open up the in-flight magazine of these local airlines, whether it's Air Serbia or Georgian Airways or whatever, if you go to the back, and my favorite part is the in-flight magazine route map, where you can see everywhere the airline flies, you will see these airlines flying to some weird cities that you're like, why would they fly to this weird city in Austria? Well, because that's where all the people from that country moved. And so they'll have flights back and forth. People can visit their family. Perhaps people are there working. And this is something that I've really seen the more I associate with folks around the world. I've had people who have worked for our team. And then I've tried to convince them. I said, the Western world's not the place to be. I said, we have people on our team who are making more money than you would make going and taking a job in a European country. People from Eastern Europe, for example, they grew up thinking that if they only moved to the United States, if they only moved to, Germany or Switzerland or whatever it is, their vision of making it is, that's where their life is going to change for the better. And yet, in today's world, that's not really true anymore. I help people who are from countries that you wouldn't ever think of. They make 6- and 7-figure incomes running businesses online, or making apps, or doing affiliate marketing, or even doing consulting. People from Morocco, from Egypt, from Ukraine, from Brazil. There are opportunities anywhere. And so the world has changed. The stereotypes have not. And at a certain point, whether it comes to immigration, whether it comes to second residence, whether it comes to where you physically go and spend your time, whether it comes to Estonian e-residence, at a certain point, I feel like people are going just to go. They're going because it's the thing that you do. I grew up in the United States, and there were just certain things that you did, right? I always challenged that. I said, why do we do these things, right? I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. If you're from the United States, the only acceptable response to that is, I'm sorry to hear that. We didn't have for 51 years a sports team championship. Other teams, every year they win something. We went 5 decades. Now notice I say we. I didn't lose for 51 years. But so many people that I knew as a child, that's their team. They root for the losers. It's just the thing that you do. And in the same way, I think people are doing a lot of things in life, especially when it comes to this offshore nomad capitalist stuff, where it becomes almost rote. That may be comforting. It may be comfortable. If you look at big cities like New York, London, people move, they establish Chinatown. I remember living in the Los Angeles area for about half a year, and it was really interesting for me as someone who liked studying the world to see all kinds of places. Where else? Little Phnom Penh in Long Beach, California, little Cambodia. Where else do you see that, right? It's fascinating. And there's a comfort to that for those people, and at a certain level, it's a survival point. But if you're watching this, I want you to understand that you can create your own comfortable nomad capitalist life without following the herd. In the digital nomad scene, I see people who, they go to Chiang Mai, Thailand. They go to Medellin in Colombia now. They go to other places. Budapest has become a popular place. Tbilisi in Georgia. I've been talking about it for years. You're just starting to see it creeping on the scene. I'm hearing things about retiring. I'm hearing things about going there and working as a nomad, right? So I'm very excited. We started talking about that many years ago. And there are certain places. Now, I think Tbilisi is a great place to have on your radar. But if you're doing it because everyone else in your circle is doing it, then you have to consider, what are your reasons for doing this stuff? I always say, I think lowering your taxes as low as possible is a good thing if you're a 7 or 8 figure entrepreneur. If you have a high income, you can do a lot better with that money through giving to causes that are important to you and supporting countries that actually need the help, rather than living in the US or Canada or Australia and having them waste your millions of dollars. But you know what? A lot of people disagree with me. And as I always say, 40 million people in California think I'm wrong because they voted with their feet. They're there in California. But are they doing it because California is the best? Does California have the best healthcare, the best roads, the best schools? No, they have some of the worst in the world for those things. But it does serve people well, I suppose, because it's what they've always done. Or it's what's always been told to them. It's the brand name that was pitched to them. It may be comfortable. And for them, they put comfort above anything else. They put doing things the way they've always been done above going where they're treated best. And that's your right. If you like Chiang Mai, Thailand, by all means go there. But the challenge I see is more and more people get involved in this nomad capitalist stuff. It's going to be figuring out what it is that you need and what your goals are. I see a lot of people who have moved their jobs overseas. They have remote work. They make $60,000 a year, for example, setting a lot of the tone. And so I'll hear from people who make $2 million a year, and they'll say, well, hey, what about this strategy? And that strategy will work if you make $60,000 a year because the tax consequences aren't that bad. But if you're making $2 million a year, you're going to get roasted. And so I always want you to remember why you're doing this stuff. I think it's very easy for all of us, including myself at times, to get caught up in what everyone else is doing. Now, some of us, and perhaps this is maybe the category I more fall into, some of us are just like, what's everyone else doing? Yeah, I'll do the opposite, right? For me, I own a home in Bogota, Colombia. I like Bogota. I like the big city. I like the convenience of the capital. I just happen to like the vibe there better. And you know what? I meet Colombians when I'm there, but I get to be left alone when I'm there. Other than the occasional Colombian who watches our channel. And so that could be good or bad, but to me it's very interesting. And so you want to understand, why are you doing this stuff? Are you getting into routine? Have you left one routine in pursuit of freedom, in pursuit of creating options, in pursuit of bettering your life, lowering your taxes, protecting yourself from just one government, only to fall into a new routine? That's the tipping point. It's something to keep in mind. It's something to use as a guidepost. You should do what you want. That's what this is all about. And again, I helped someone recently. He says, Andrew, I live in New York State on Long Island. He's paying a lot of money in taxes, both income taxes, property taxes, everything else. He says, you know what? I've got a few $1 million. I think I should diversify somewhere else. I think I should protect myself with a passport. Can you help me do that? But I'm not moving out of New York. That's fine. I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I'm here to give you options, and as someone who's been doing this for over a decade now, I think it's important to share with you what I see from the front lines. That is the tipping point. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.